And now an unusual approach to preventing gun violence. On the eve of the one-year anniversary of the Newtown massacre, yet another shooting at a school in Colorado made headlines. Programmers and entrepreneurs will gather in San Francisco this weekend to discuss high-tech solutions to reducing violence in schools. The event is organized by a group called Highground Hackers. And joining me now is co-founder James Colgan. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Thuy.
As I mentioned, another school shooting today, this time in Colorado, where a student targeting a teacher injured two fellow students before committing suicide. In fact, this is just a day before the Newtown massacre one-year anniversary. And there's been at least one school shooting roughly every 2 weeks in this country since Newtown. What's your reaction to that epidemic of violence, and how can your group address that?
That's actually what got the motivation to me to actually start the Highground Hackers with my co-founder Michael Selvage 1 year ago tomorrow. It was actually the school shootings in Sandy Hook and the outrage of that atrocity. And so looking towards high tech, we look for the scenarios and the situations where prior to a violent occurrence happening, we can look at bringing help to the individuals, or when a violent situation is actually occurring, we look to better aid those people that are involved, such as the police, such as students, such as teachers.
Can you give some specific examples? Are you targeting, like you said, police, but also mental health workers, students? How can an app help a mental health worker, for example?
Let's break that down. So we've got an application that was developed just a month ago, actually, by a group called Concern. And that is an application that is being used in communities, or will be used in communities, and by students, where they can reach out to trained medical professionals when they're experiencing a mental health situation. We have another application where they actually have a community that is observing, or they're in class and they're tracking their own moods, and those moods are being recorded. They have a network of friends that are associated or related to that individual, and the application will send out an SMS message to their friends saying, hey, you know what, James is feeling pretty down right now. Maybe he's suffering from depression. That's already been logged. And friends actually reaching out to maybe an isolated individual saying, hey, do you want to go out and do you want to play a game of basketball? Breaking cycles like that, helping people with their own mental health issues, connecting mental health professionals to situations where they can actually help. That's really what we're all about.
And that's interesting that you bring up the whole point about breaking the isolation, because many times high tech has been blamed for creating isolation, that young people are more in tune with their iPhones and their devices and their online social networks instead of actually talking to each other. But you don't seem to think there's a contradiction or a problem here.
It is counterintuitive, but the reality is it's best to work with a trend than try to work against it. And the trend is definitely to be more connected to your network, to your friends, through these apps, or through your iPad, or through your iPhone and smartphones. So knowing that that's a reality, how do we use that to work with a situation? So you've already got a network of friends that are connected with an individual. Let's reach out to those friends to contact that person individually to help them with a situation.
And your group started just in March, but you've already had 2 hackathons. Did any actual apps come out of that are in use now, and is there any evidence that they actually work?
Yes, there is actually an app that's out there being used by an organization called Cure Violence. That was one of the top 50 NGOs in the world. It was started by an epidemiologist called Dr. Gary Slutkin. And the Cure Violence organization, they send interrupters into violent situations in areas of, say, Chicago or other areas of violence to break up a cycle of violence. Our application, developed in the first hackathon, is used to make those interrupters more efficient, get them out to the places of where violence is potentially occurring in a more timely fashion. The next phase of that application is now to do the same thing, but for medical response. So we're trying to help people to interrupt and stop violence, but if violence has occurred, we need to get medical assistance there ASAP. So the app is going to do double duty in that sense.
How did your group start? You apparently got big backing from Ron Conway, a prominent angel investor here in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. He's invested in companies like Google and Twitter. How did all of that come about?
It all came about when Ron Conway started the Technology Committee for the Reduction of Gun Violence. That's where Michael and I actually met. And a number of programs have spun out from that organization. Michael and I went off and literally, in San Francisco fashion, went to a coffee shop and we said, you know what? The complexity and the variety of different challenges that are out there in American society today, it really needs a number of different applications that can target specific situations. It's perfect for a hackathon. The challenge is that these situations and issues are extremely esoteric, and so we needed to pull in subject matter experts to bond and join the teams of developers, and that's what we do that is unique with the Highground hackers. So we get researchers, faculty members, people that are expert in situations, and they embed in a developer team in very tight loops, and they can, within 36 hours, put together a very effective proof of concept application.
And you have another hackathon coming up, and when will that happen, and where, and who are you expecting?
So we've got such a draw for speakers. We've got 22 speakers who are going to be there tomorrow at the Twilio headquarters, and we're going to be talking about everything from gaming changing behavior, neurology and neuroscience, and we've got, after those speakers have actually spoken, we'll be recording all of that, and then in the new year, we're going to be having a hackathon where developers are going to be coming in, they're going to be bonding with the subject matter experts, they'll have the videos to go off, and we'll be hacking in the new year on applications based off of what we're doing tomorrow at the Symposium.
Well, very fascinating. James Colgan, thank you for joining us on what has been a sad day with the Colorado shooting, but it's been a very illuminating discussion, and I wish you the best of luck with your project.
Thank you, Thuy.
All right. And one final note on all this, this weekend a hackathon aimed at engaging African American youth is also taking place. That's happening in Oakland. It's called Brothers Code.